I think you need both freedom and order. Really, the essential thing in life is the dialectic between freedom and order and the balancing of freedom and order. And conservatives need liberals to remind them about the importance of freedom, and liberals desperately need conservatives to remind them about the importance of order, because without order, society is impossible, right? That brings me to the dilemmas of the liberals of today, who are faced with this politics of anger and in all of its horrendous manifestations. And they obviously struggle to cope with it because, on the one hand, they want freedom. On the other hand, they pine for a freedom that isn't licensed. And I think it's a dilemma that was nicely captured by a British philosopher called Martin Hollis, where he said, look, many things are possible, but one thing isn't. Right? And the one thing that isn't possible is a society that's based on the principle of liberalism for the liberals and cannibalism for the cannibals. Because soon enough, the cannibals will eat the liberals. And so every society has to grapple with the question of what are the boundaries you impose on the cannibals. And we're very reluctant to deal with that question. And we always think, well, the way you deal with that is essentially through the rule of law. And obviously there's a lot in that, because that's at the heart of order in a liberal society, in a free society. It's the rule of law. But that is imposing an enormous burden on the legal system, if that's what's going to bear all the weight and do all the work. And it's not a weight, I don't believe, or a burden that our legal system manages to cope with nowadays. And you see that in so many respects. You see that when, people are released on bail who shouldn't be released on bail, when protests are allowed when they shouldn't be allowed. You see a great reluctance to use law to preserve order. Whereas in the ideal of a liberal society, those two words, law and order, go together. And I fear that unless we're more willing to grapple with that question of how we maintain order, how we police the boundaries, how we control the cannibals, then the politics of anger will simply build up. And while I don't believe they will destroy us, they will certainly make our lives poorer, less pleasant, less livable than they ought to be.